Hey guys, this is Whitney, and welcome back to another episode of Spastic Chatter. If you're new here, Spastic Chatter is a platform meant to feature those in the cerebral palsy community, and I get together weekly with individuals with CP like myself to have a kind of uncensored chat, if you will, about what it's like living with this type of disability. And for this week, I have Lacey, and she sent me a message because she started this support group about finding the beauty in disability, and I thought it was really cool, and it's just getting off the ground. So I'm gonna have a conversation today with Lacey about it. So before we get into the conversation, I'm gonna let Lacey introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Lacey Richcreek, and I am a freshman in college with mild spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy, and because of this whole coronavirus, I'm stuck in my room like many other people, so I decided to make a little support group for people with disabilities.
That's awesome.
And it is called The Beauty in Disabilities because I feel like we need to show that having a disability can be a very positive and beautiful experience.
That's awesome.
If we let it be.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's kind of like why that's one of the reasons why I started Spastic Chatter, because I wanted to show the diversity within the cerebral palsy community, but also wanted to show others that having a disability is not like this woe is me type thing. Like, we're just people living our life, and we're doing like amazing things, like beautiful things with our lives, and we just so happen to have a disability. Like, so yeah, I can totally relate to that.
And it's not always a positive experience, but being different can be a strength sometimes, because people in my small town, where I am really the only person with a disability that I'm around, people are like, oh yeah, that's Lacey, I know her.
Yeah.
And I also feel like this will hopefully help other people feel more confident in their own body, whatever it may look like for them.
That's awesome. So before this, you were telling me that you didn't really grow up around people with disabilities, or you just said that you were like the only person with a disability in your hometown. So how did you have a positive experience growing up? Or was there some struggle there because of your disability, or you want to talk about that?
Yes. So growing up in this small town, I got to see the best of both sides of things. In elementary school, and especially in early elementary school, I was loved. People took to me and said, you are my little best friend. I will keep you and hold you forever. But then, as I got older, things started to turn around, and in junior high and high school, when I was away from the kids in elementary school because I went to elementary school and a Catholic school, and then I transitioned into public schooling. I saw some pretty horrific bullying and such because I was different and an easy target and no one understood. So right now I'm kind of recovering from that as well.
Yeah, I can relate to your story as well, because it seems like you were in an environment that, like, they just saw you as a Lacey, and then you moved to a new environment and nobody knew you, so you kind of like had to like prove yourself, kind of, in a way. Like I had to do that as well, because I moved from junior high to high school, so I kind of had to do that, but you had to do it at a much younger age, where like kids are not kids can be very mean. So
Yes. And
yeah,
since there was no one else around that looked like me, people assumed that I was dumb and stupid,
yeah,
and on, as I'm sure all of us had to deal with at one point in time or another. And I graduated in 2020, and I was so grateful that the pandemic hit when it did, because I did not want to graduate with these people.
oh, yeah. So the pandemic was kind of a blessing in that disguise.
Yes, there was a few odd and people who were nicer to me, but yeah, I didn't really have anyone after my junior year.
So is that one of the reasons why you created your support group, is to
Yeah,
find some friendships and a sense of community?
yes, I needed to build some type of community and relationships with people who were 30 years older than me, because
Yeah,
during high school, I basically had a, I kind of went to church, and everyone who went to church with me was an adult, so I kind of befriended them. So
I think at least I can relate to that. I think like with our type of disability, we tend to hang out with like the adults in the situation, like our care, like not necessarily our caretakers, but like more adult figures, because we had to rely on someone to for our basic needs. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
that's
and
just what we gravitate towards.
I also feel like this ever since we were born, practically, we were shoved into an environment of doctors, nurses, and therapists who were all adults. So we had to learn how to communicate more towards adults than we had to
Yeah,
children.
exactly. So, like, so now that in like 2020, they're all about inclusion, and like inclusion is getting so much better. So I think that's a positive for like teaching young for like teaching young kids the importance of like being different, and it's okay. And it's okay if people like use crutches and like look different than you are, use a wheelchair. So I feel like we're on the uphill battle when it comes to that. What do you think?
Well,
Or
I really, I'm sorry.
you can be totally honest. This is I pride Spastic Chatter on being uncensored, so this is your perspective. You're sharing your perspective. You can be totally honest.
I don't think the way they are doing it works. I think because I think even though it's better of inclusion at an early age, in order to truly help us, we have to let kids know that it's okay to ask us questions.
Yeah.
For example, I don't have a problem with a kid 5, 6, 7, even 8, 9 come up to me and being like, hey, you look different. What is wrong with you? And I can properly explain it in a way that gives not only me dignity and respect, but other people in the disability community dignity and respect. So these kids do not grow up and become ignorant adults.
Yeah.
And
I totally agree.
And further down the line, I really hope that the Beauty and Disability has informational guides about what different disabilities are and how to properly talk to them.
Yeah, I totally agree. I agree with everything you just said. Like parent, like this is just to go further like talk about what you just said. Like parents don't need to shush their kids when they ask like, hey mom, why is that person in a wheelchair? Why does that person use crutches? You don't need to shush your kids for asking that. Like what in my opinion, in my perspective, like invite the kids to ask, to engage in conversation with the person, so that the child can see that they're just a regular person like they are. They just have a disability or a difference.
Now, let me also expand on that because I feel like there have been some really uncomfortable times where teenagers and adults have asked that question, because I feel like if you grow out of that curiosity stage and you ask that question, you come off as very rude and inconsiderate.
Yeah.
Unless you know me really, really well.
Yeah.
And I have kind of formulated different responses for different answers. And let me tell you, if you're rude about it, I'm just going to be like, well, I was attacked by a giant grizzly bear in the middle of New York City, or something completely ridiculous.
I feel like in my opinion, I feel like there's like there's like an age cutoff that you can they
Yeah.
like you said, eight and under is like perfectly okay to like contact somebody and ask like ask the but once you reach a certain age, you have to get to know a person more before you ask them, hey, what's wrong with you? Like what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with me. Like
Yeah.
what's wrong with you? Like so yeah, I completely understand. So back to your support group. You said it was about like you wanted to help people build confidence. So I wanted to ask you, what does confidence mean to you? Okay.
I have a perfect answer to this. Confidence is believing that you can do anything despite your disability or despite your life circumstances or anything. Confidence is just believing that you can do anything and you show up and you try.
That's very cool. And yeah, that's a very good answer. So how has your support group been going? Like do you meet weekly or do you meet monthly or how's that?
We do. We meet once a week on Saturday typically. It's kind of been a floater schedule just because I have a very active life and family who is very supportive. But we typically meet on Saturdays, either at 3 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. and that is Eastern Standard Time.
That's awesome.
And typically we have 4 to 5 people come, and sometimes we have a topic, other things we just talk about whatever we need to talk about.
That's awesome.
And it is open to anyone, disability or not. We just ask that you please be respectful and polite and all of that jazz. We don't need any more negativity in our lives.
Exactly. So do you meet on Zoom or how do you meet?
We meet on Teams. We try Zoom, however, because of the 40-minute time slot and me being a broke college student, we just could not afford to meet on Zoom. So we meet on Teams and it has been really lovely.
That's awesome. So do you have a link to your meetups or so I can put it in the description or is it just the Facebook page?
So what you would do is go to my Facebook page and I usually come out with the meeting topic, time, and date on Wednesday and post the link with it. So, yes.
Awesome. I'll put the Facebook link in the description. And before this, we were talking. You kind of mentioned like the future of your support group. So what does that future look like? Like what are your goals for your support group?
So we want to kind of turn it into an organization, hopefully, where we can fundraise money and give to people with disabilities stuff or opportunities that will help them thrive in health, safety, and happiness. that is our ultimate goal. We are also focusing heavily on education, as I was talking earlier about the guides and resources. So we're kind of open to all possibilities. In fact, last week I launched a I'm sorry, I brain fogged me.
It's all good.
Yeah, last week we launched a video project where you can film yourself answering 3 questions that I put on it. And so you can film yourself talking about what it is like living with a disability or taking care of someone who does. And then I will post it on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Cool. So. Well, at the end of all my interviews, I usually ask my guests if they have any advice for people in similar situations as themselves. So, do you have any advice for people that want to start support groups or be in a support group, or just advice in general?
You know what about starting a support group? No, not really. I am new to the entire thing. Last week my meeting link went out literally 12 hours before the meeting, so I screwed up big time. But my biggest advice, I guess, would be to try everything. Never set the joy on yourself, because the worst they can say is no. But in the same breath, remember there is a maximum one can do, and do not go over that maximum level. It is never worth it, ever.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's very good. That's very good advice. Thank you, Lacey, for writing in and wanting to be on Spastic Chatter. I enjoyed talking with you. And for those of you watching, if you want to be on an episode, you can always reach out to me through comment or DM, or there's a form in the description. And I recently made a Spastic Chatter merch, so that if you want to get a T-shirt or like a iPhone case, or we have coffee mug stickers, that link will also be in the description. So again, thank you, Lacey, for being a guest this week.
Thank you.
And check back next week for another episode of Spastic Chatter. Thanks. Bye.